A banking app sent you a push notification last week that said, "Hey, just checking in. How are you feeling today?" and paired it with a yellow heart emoji. The same sentence, the same color palette, the same rounded typeface appeared on a meditation app, a period tracker, and a buy now, pay later service. Strip the logos and you cannot tell which is which. That is not a coincidence. It is a strategy. And the strategy works precisely because you are not supposed to notice it working. 6 interfaces, soft gradients, muted sage and dusty peach, gentle illustrations of bodies stretching, generous white space, affirming microcopy. One of them is a mental health tool. The other 5 are selling you debt, data, and dopamine. The reason you can't tell them apart is that the visual language of therapy has been separated from the practice of therapy. The signifier floats free, and when care becomes an aesthetic anyone can wear, it stops meaning anything at all. The soft visual language we now associate with mental wellness did not emerge from clinical psychology. Therapists' offices are not pastel. They are functional, often unglamorous spaces. A slightly worn couch, a white noise machine, a box of tissues. The aesthetic we recognize as therapeutic was invented by designers. Headspace was arguably the first app to codify it fully. Warm illustrations, rounded typography, slow breathing animations, a palette that felt like a hug. And the design was honest, because Headspace was actually offering meditation. The visual gentleness matched the substance. But design languages, once proven effective, do not stay where they were born. They migrate. And this one migrated fast. By 2018, the same rounded sans serifs and muted earth tones that Headspace pioneered were appearing on fintech dashboards, productivity tools, even food delivery apps. The migration was not organic. It was strategic. Research on visual perception confirms that we learn to read visual codes the same way we learn written language. Soft gradients trigger associations with safety. Rounded corners signal approachability. Warm color palettes activate trust. These are not universal human responses. They are culturally constructed associations that designers have spent a decade embedding in our nervous systems. And once the code was established, anyone could deploy it, regardless of what they were actually offering behind the interface. The question is why the migration accelerated when it did. 3 forces converged. The first was the pandemic. COVID-19 pushed mental health vocabulary out of clinical settings and into casual conversation. Self-care, boundaries, checking in became part of everyday speech. When an entire culture adopts therapeutic language, that language becomes available as raw material for branding. The second force was the techlash. After Cambridge Analytica, congressional hearings on teen mental health, and a decade of algorithmic scandals, technology companies needed to rebrand from disruptors to caregivers. Therapeutic design language accomplishes that rebrand without requiring structural change. It is a costume, not a reform. The third force was economic. The global wellness market crossed $5 trillion. Healing became aspirational. And when healing is aspirational, it becomes a lifestyle brand, available to anyone willing to pay a licensing fee to the aesthetic. Instagram's Take a Break feature is the paradox distilled to its purest form. Introduced with soft, caring design language identical to a wellness app, the feature reminds users to stop scrolling. It is opt-in, buried in settings, and exists inside a product whose entire business model depends on maximizing time on screen. The same company that engineers the compulsion loop offers you a gentle nudge to step away from it, rendered in the visual language of a therapist who genuinely wants you to get better. The nudge is not care. It is a fig leaf designed by the best designers in the world. Calm, valued at over $2 billion, built its empire on the premise that an app could deliver wellness. But a 2024 study published in Springer Nature found that users of mental health apps consistently reported their problems being forced into neat boxes and measurable units. The apps demanded that messy human experience conform to templates. Even apps that are genuinely therapy-adjacent prioritize engagement metrics over clinical outcomes. Streaks, daily check-ins, gamified mood tracking. These are the same retention mechanics that power social media and mobile games, dressed in softer clothes. And the frontier is more unsettling still. Emerging adaptive interfaces use facial micro-expression detection to read your emotional state and adjust the UI in real time. If the camera detects stress, the interface simplifies. Icons shrink, pathways shorten, the screen gets gentler. This is being marketed as empathetic design. What it actually does is read your distress and use it to keep you inside the app rather than directing you to actual support. The cage gets more comfortable precisely when you most need to leave it. Smashing Magazine introduced the concept of the distressed user and explicitly acknowledged that a pattern that strains a user in distress may be exactly right for that product's actual goal. The industry knows. The design proceeds anyway because the incentives point in one direction and the ethics point in another, and incentives have better funding. This is not, at its core, a story about apps. It is a story about what happens when the visual and verbal language of care gets captured by business models that depend on its opposite. A therapist's office is calm because the work requires it. The stillness is functional. It exists so you can sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. A social media feed is calm so you keep scrolling. A fintech dashboard is calm so you feel safe spending. The stillness is cosmetic. It exists so you never feel uncomfortable enough to leave. Same aesthetic, opposite purpose. And the reason this works is that design operates on you before you consciously process it. You feel safe before you decide to feel safe. The people least equipped to see through the performance are the people in distress. And those are exactly the users the aesthetic targets most aggressively. There is a complication worth sitting with. Some of this design genuinely helps. Softer interfaces reduce cognitive load. Affirming microcopy can ease anxiety. Calmer visual environments are measurably less hostile to neurodivergent users. The argument is not that gentleness in design is a lie. The argument is that gentleness deployed in the service of engagement metrics is a specific kind of deception, one that borrows the credibility of care to insulate extraction from criticism. And the distinction is genuinely hard to draw in practice. A rounded font is not inherently manipulative. A breathing animation is not inherently dishonest. The manipulation lives not in any single design element, but in the gap between the promise the aesthetic makes and the business model it serves. That gap is widening, and every time a buy now, pay later app adopts the visual language of a meditation retreat, the cultural meaning of care itself gets a little thinner. Mid-century cigarette ads borrowed the language of women's liberation to sell tobacco. You've come a long way, baby. The food industry hollowed out the word natural until it meant nothing. What is happening now is the same capture, but more sophisticated. It is not slogans on billboards. It is embedded in interaction design, in micro-animations, in the cadence of notifications, in the haptic feedback that rewards you for logging your mood. The manipulation is structural, not rhetorical. And it is eating the one word that people in genuine pain reach for when they need to believe something might help. The next time an app asks how you are feeling, notice the font. Notice the color. Notice how safe it makes you feel. Then ask yourself who that safety is for. So here's the real question. What is the last app that made you feel cared for? Now ask whether it was caring for you or keeping you. You already know which one it was. The next time you feel that soft gradient settle your nerves, remember that comfort and care are not the same thing, and the difference is measured in who profits from your calm. This is the threads of culture.